now that we've gotten the species out of the way, let's talk about the gear. What kind of gear do I use? Oh, see, you're talking about these fish, and then you're sitting here talking about how to catch. Oh wow, how do I catch it? What do I use? Oh, I got you covered, my friend. Now I'm going to talk about what I personally use, and that has treated me right for the multitude of species that are around here. So I'd like to start off with my go-to. This is the rod and reel setup I use every single time I'm fishing. Inshore, anyway. Now, I know I can't show you the whole rod. It's a 7-foot rod, so it's pretty big, or long, I should say. This is a Berkeley Amp rod. It's really good. I think it was like $30 at Walmart. I've had this for years, knock on wood, but like, it's really good for saltwater. I've hooked some pretty decent sized fish. It's a long, stiff rod. Why do you need a long, stiff rod instead of a jiggly one? When you're lure fishing, at least, you can feel the more sensitive bites. The little tap-taps, you can feel it on the rod. It makes a big difference. With the more wiggly rods, like, let's take, for example, the ugly sticks. They're really good rods. They handle well. They're nearly indestructible. I just don't like them because of how wiggly they are. My personal preference. Now, they're great if you're fishing using just natural baits or live baits, where a tiny bite isn't necessarily what you're looking for, more of oh my god, my rod's bending, I should go get it. I like a long 6.5 to 7 foot rod that's relatively thin-ish, medium heavy, with a fast action. That's what you're looking for. It has a stronger backbone since it's stiffer. You don't need to jerk as hard as you can to set the hook. You just give it a nice tug and then boom, the hook's set. Downside of a type rod like this is you lose a bit of casting distance, because the more flexible rods, you can create like a slingshot effect or a catapult effect, and you just launch a bait out there. You can compensate with that with a longer rod, like a 7-foot rod or even longer. It'll help nullify a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of the casting distance issue. And you could get pretty out there, honestly. And with a good reel like this, and this is a Daiwa Crossfire series. Now again, this setup cost me less than $100, and it's been already 4 years, regular maintenance, washing it in warm, fresh water after every trip, and then just kind of throw in some oil in when I unscrew it here, and then just put some oil in there. Ta-da! It's a very smooth, very good reel at Turner's. It came with a rod, a Daiwa rod as well. I'm using it for another setup, which was a little too small. It was like a 6-foot rod. This is a 2000 series reel, which means it can handle a maximum of about 10-pound test monofilament. The line I'm using, 6-pound test. This is my go-to setup. This is what I'm tossing out 80% of the time. Okay? And this works for bass, the spotted bay bass mainly, the sand bass, calico bass, croakers, halibut. It's smaller halibut, but halibut. Just any fish around that size, up to like 24 inches or so, maybe 30 inches pushing it. But yeah, this setup will work perfectly for that. And you can put up to 10-pound test. I like 6-pound test just because I kind of like the challenge, and I'm a sportsman. I like to give the fish a better chance, you know what I mean? So anyways, this is my go-to setup. Now, the next setup I like to carry with me, I have 4 rods when I go lure fishing. I either go lure fishing or I go fishing with natural baits. I don't do both. It's rare when I do both. Next setup I have is a bit of a tiny bit heavier setup, meant for bigger fish, Here it is. This was a part of a combo, like a rod and reel. This isn't the original rod, by the way. I'll talk about this in a second. This reel was from Walmart with another rod from Lew's 9 years ago. $70 for the rod and reel, and the only thing that crapped out on me was the rod, and that was my fault. Okay, I snapped the rod. The reel has lasted very good quality. It's still relatively smooth after all this time, after a couple of, I will admit, more advanced cleanings and everything. I took everything apart and I just kind of cleaned everything and oiled it up, put it back together, because this is more of like a sealed system, and if any salt water gets in, it's really hard to get it out with just rinsing it off. So at least once a year, I like to take it completely apart and just give it a nice detailed cleaning. You still need to rinse these out. Warm water, warm fresh water, every fishing trip, whether it's fresh or salt water, because both will rust your gears and stuff. So with that said, it's lasted me for a while, and hopefully it'll keep going strong. This rod, I would have never, ever, no, ow, that hurt. I'm bleeding. Anyways, this setup right here, or this rod, I should say, surprised me. Under normal circumstances, I would have never picked this rod up. It's Ozark Trail. Not a brand I would usually get. Truth be told, it's a very, very decent rod for what it is and for how much it was. How much was it, OC? $17 at Walmart. 6.5 foot rod, medium action, medium weight. That means it's still pretty stiff. You need to rinse off your rods just like you rinse these off, the reels. All the guides or the eyes, whatever you want to call them, fresh warm water. Get that salt water out the way and they will last for as long as possible. It won't eat away the glue or whatever the chemical they use to stick these on. As fast anyway. Just get that salt water out of there. Even fresh water, just give it a good rinse with warm fresh water. The rod can handle 8 to 12 pounds. The reel can handle up to 12 pounds. I have it with 12-pound test, and I usually toss out with some bigger baits, just like when I'm going for something bigger, when I have something bigger in mind, or if there's something bigger there, I know, I'll usually toss this out instead of my go-to one. I have a medium setup, then I have a slightly larger setup, and now I'm going to have to go with a smaller setup. Ta-da! Now this reel, for the price range so far, for the class, the size, this is a really good deal for what it is. It's I believe it was $39.99 at Walmart. For the type of fishing, inshore fishing, I'm not buying anything overly expensive. I'm fishing inshore. It'll do the same job as something that's cost $300-400. This can handle up to 4-pound test. Now, it is that light of a reel. It's a 1000 series reel. 1000 size. It's a Shimano Sienna 1000. And it's lined up with 4-pound test. With a... Oh, this is the Daiwa Crossfire rod that came with the other reel. Look, let me show you. Look how big of a reel they put for this tiny 6-foot rod. I'm like, whatever, I'll take it. And then I'll find a good use for it. This, it's a stiff rod of medium action, lightweight since it's small, it's tiny. It is perfect for perch, for mackerel, for if you're doing freshwater bluegill, things like that. That type of fish. And you can do some lightweight bass fishing with this. It's really fun, especially spotted bay bass. They fight so hard on 4-pound test. Now, what I have here is perfect, like a little grub. This is what this rod and reel setup is meant for. Perch, surf fishing, like for surf perch, for corbina, for croaker, drum, smaller drum or croaker, I mean, for smaller bass, mackerel, panfish if you're doing freshwater. So yeah, this is my third setup that I like. So as you see, I have a medium, a light, and a heavy-ish setup. Now for my final one, this is if I'm trying to go for something bigger. I've heard through like forums or anything that there's something big around in the bays or near shore. I'm taking this bad boy. It's my Calcutta. It's been officially 10 years now since I've had this. And aside from the scratches on it is like day one smooth. So yeah, this isn't cheap. It's $250. It's the Calcutta 200 GTB. It's the race car version or lightweight version, whatever. Same drag, same reel speed. It's just lighter because it's drilled like this, and it's made out of slightly lighter components, and it has a couple more ball bearings in there. It is a really good setup for medium to medium heavy fish. Believe it or not, the biggest fish I've caught with these was yellowfin tuna. Yeah, here's a picture right here. Knowing that you can catch about a 15 to 25 pound yellowfin tuna with this reel should give you a bit of confidence going fishing in the bays. I have it spooled with 15-pound test paired with a Penn Squadron 2 7-foot rod. $50 rod paired with a $250 reel, so this is a $300 combo. I hate saying it, but you can catch smaller tuna, you can catch barracuda, you can catch bonito, you can catch bigger bass, halibut. This rod especially, it's a fast action, medium heavy, stiff, can launch a bait out. $50 rod, lasts you a good long while. Take care of it just like any other rod. Rinse it out after every fishing trip. And this reel, you can literally keep it for a decade. Click. Look how loose that is. Oh my god, I almost got a crow's nest because that's how loose that is. Or like smooth. All I do is press that. Hey. Yeah. Rinse it out after every trip and it will last you. Now that we've talked about the type of gear that you need, i.e. rod and reel, we'll tune in next episode and find out what type of lures you're going to need to catch a lot or any one of these species, really.